What is going on, Scan Fam? Welcome to another week of the Crypto Current. We are here with Dennis and Gons as always.
Hello.
Everybody.
So, quite an exciting week in crypto. Lots of volatility. I mean, we've seen Bitcoin jump up and down around 20%. So, let's get into it. So, hopping right into the Bitcoin chart here on CoinScan.com, you can see we're sitting around 25,000, which is nice to see. You know, we did pump up to 26K, which was crazy, right? If we zoom out on this chart for a little bit. So yeah, we had our rally throughout mid-February through March, topped out just below 25K here, and then we dumped all the way down to $20,000. A lot of people thought that that was the end of this relief rally, whatever you want to call it, but we've actually shot up even past that previous high around late February. So, cool to see. Lots of excitement in the market and rather surprising considering all of the FUD that crypto's seen recently with USDC depegging by, I want to say it was over 10%. Making a higher high right here is very strong, shows a lot of strength in the market, at least to me. And yeah, we'll see how this unfolds. I think we're going to see a lot of regulators point fingers at some of the events that have happened previously.
I mean, a quick recap is, we saw USDC depeg by more than 10%, right? It was down to like 87 cents on the dollar. And Bitcoin held over 20K throughout that whole period, right? Through this crazy destabling of stablecoins. And so I think that plus the fact that then we saw traditional finance take a huge hit with SVB and all these other banks having issues, I think that just kind of pushed the narrative of, hey, we can't trust the banks anymore. We're going into Bitcoin. We're going into crypto.
Right.
And so that's why we saw this huge rally up to 26K.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when the traditional finance has some troubles, we see a lot of influx of capital go into crypto. So it was great to kind of see that trend kind of come up again as SVB, like you mentioned, collapsed.
For sure. And USDC is back at $1. Seems like, things have stabilized. But like I said, I believe regulators are going to start pointing fingers at some of these things that have recently unfolded. But without further ado, let's kick off this week's stories. So starting off here, Arbitrum Airdrop has finally been announced. So the long-awaited ARB token will grant holders the ability to vote on changes to the leading Ethereum Layer 2 network. Arbitrum, the biggest player in Ethereum's Layer 2 scaling landscape, is finally getting a token. The Arbitrum Foundation said on Thursday that Arbitrum's new token, will be airdropped to community members on Thursday, March 23rd. So in about 7 days, sorry. So according to the Arbitrum Foundation, ARB will mark Arbitrum's official transition into a decentralized autonomous organization, meaning ARB holders will be able to vote on key decisions governing Arbitrum 1 and Arbitrum Nova, networks that allow users to transact on the Ethereum blockchain with greater speeds and lower fees. I'm curious to see what kind of proposals ARB holders will be able to vote on. Will it really be anything valuable? A lot of the time with these like DAO protocols that we see, like, I think Uniswap has had some pretty impactful proposals, but a lot of the time, it's all negligible proposals, right, that really don't matter in the long term.
I also think they have an ability to switch the narrative as well. They're fairly big, and if they're trying to go more towards that like decentralized autonomous organization model, hopefully they can set a new narrative. So I think this also gives them a chance to kind of flip the script a bit. But again, like you said, we've seen a lot of them not have that much power in terms of the vote, and let's just see how it plays out. But I'm excited for it.
I think this will be a similar case of just the reality is that, for example, Optimism, it looks like the article talks about this a little bit later on, but Optimism basically gave 36% of its tokens to investors and contributors, whereas Arbitrum is going to give 44%. So that's definitely going to dilute the value of the actual common person voting in the DAO. That's definitely one of the negatives to Arbitrum.
So getting on with the story here. So Arbitrum worked with Nansen, the crypto analytics firm, to snapshot user activity in February in order to determine who should be eligible for ARB tokens. How many transactions you did, how many different applications you used, and how long you've been using Arbitrum 1 and Arbitrum Nitro were among the factors used to determine eligibility, according to Gold Feeder. Arbitrum users will be able to check their eligibility for the airdrop and claim tokens by visiting gov.arbitrum.foundation. Users are encouraged to use caution while claiming their tokens. Scammers frequently use the occasion of airdrops to phish people via spoof websites and other schemes. This is a good time to highlight that in particular. You certainly always want to be careful with websites you're connecting your wallet to. And it's also interesting, like in the case of a massive airdrop like Arbitrum, where they have these wallets that they know are eligible for the airdrop. They know how many tokens they're getting. Why aren't they just distributing those to those wallets instead of making the users claim those tokens? I guess obviously there's the perspective where, not all tokens will be claimable or will be claimed, right? It's just the nature of users having to do it themselves. But regardless, those tokens will be allocated. So I just think it's interesting.
Part of that works is, for example, you had that Zen token, XEN, and something I remember about it is that I had minted these tokens, right? And so in the contract, you had to mint tokens, and then you had to come back after they were done minting, however much the time frame was, a few days, a few months, and you had to come back and actually claim them. If you didn't, they got burned. And so it does kind of serve a purpose to limit how inflationary the token will be if you make people claim it, because the people that don't claim it, then I don't know in the case of Arbitrum if they burn them or if they lock them up or they're left for team use, but it does kind of help minimize that sell pressure and that dilution. Well,
Right.
So that's usually a good thing.
So Arbitrum has 3.69 billion locked into its Ethereum rollup network, Arbitrum One, making it the clear market leader in a cutthroat field of competing chains. According to L2Beat, a Layer 2 analytics site, Arbitrum holds 55% of the Ethereum Layer 2 market share. As one of the largest crypto projects without a token, anticipation for an Arbitrum token has been at a fever pitch since the network went live in 2021. And that's very true. On Twitter for at least the last year, I've constantly seen people, theorizing an Arbitrum airdrop, trying to think of all these ways that one could be able. And so it's, cool to finally see Arbitrum come out and announce it and talk about how they're going about who's eligible. Arbitrum is already huge, as we can see here, 55% of the Layer 2 network share, which is massive compared with the dozens of chains that there already are. 55% is absolutely massive. So we'll get on to our next story here, talking about some of the Shib FUD recently. I want to say Bone fell around 25%. We can go ahead and take a quick look at that on CoinScan. Let's see. So for those that don't know, the Shibarium ecosystem that was rumored for a long time, finally announced is live in beta, and there's been some FUD around that. So yeah, looking at Bone right here, dropped from about, let's see, 1.6 down to around 1.4, so maybe a 10-20% dip in just a short matter of time based on this FUD. But let's get directly into it. So drama broke out in the Shiba Inu Discord channel on March 16th when one of the members, Steve, suggested the Shibarium chain code was copied. Steve said the Shibarium chain used a similar code to the 917 Rinia testnet chain. The chain ID 917 came into the limelight in December 2022 through the Rinia blockchain. Shiba Inu released Shibarium's beta version a few days ago. Therefore, crucial technical specifics, including block explorer, chain ID, bridges, and RPC nodes, are coming to the public now. So Steve noted that the ID Shibarium used was unique and is utilized by MetaMask and several wallet applications. Several images of posts from the Discord channel emanated through a tweet indicating the mood of the members. So one of the messages said that Satoshi, the leader of the Shibarium development team, led a series of manipulations among the community members to support his deeds. So, these are some big allegations. Shibarium has been extremely hyped, right? Like Shiba is a top 20, maybe even a top 10 token. I'm not exactly sure where it's at right now. And its whole pitch as of recent has been this, like metaverse development on the Shibarium ecosystem, which is its own chain being built on top of the BNB chain, I believe. And if Shibarium is just a copy-paste network, that's a huge letdown to the community.
Very bad look.
Agree. Yeah, I agree. Overall, when the project is that massive, it's very easy to fall short. Yes, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of community members and fans, but at the same time, the teams aren't that big. When you really look at these core developers, there's really, I mean, sure, there's maybe communities that are helping out and things of that nature, but overall, we're still very early in this space of development, especially within these ecosystems. So personally, I'm not shocked, but I still think there's a way to rebound out of this. I think they have a lot of great community members that can assist them, and overall, they can get back on track. Right now, due to the around it right now, it's just scaring a lot of investors and other folks amongst the community, but it can be right back on track.
Right. You know, I mean, ultimately, you know, Shib's whole proposition is it's a community token. You know, same thing as Doge. I mean, it is crazy how big these community tokens have gotten, you know, and you are completely right. When you're that big and there's that much hype, it's very easy to underdeliver. You know, even if the team themselves aren't the ones overpromising, you have this community, right? It's a community-run token. You have this community that obviously, you know, feels very passionately about this project, and they are the ones that are spreading the message, you know, and could be overpromising. However, you know, a copy-paste chain is under-delivering in any sense, I believe.
But I think it's a good thing that they caught it. Like if they caught it, there's concerns. Those concerns will be addressed. So even if it was copy pasted, obviously it's very upsetting. But I think the community can kind of guide those next steps. And yeah,
100%.
It's a huge community. They'll certainly move on. I mean, this is more of kind of like a buy the dip news kind of deal.
Sure. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Shiba in the coming days/weeks. We'll probably check the price in the next cryptocurrency, see how that's going. But we'll get on with our next story here. So Uniswap launches contract on BNB chain, anticipates growth. Now this is something I am very surprised that Uniswap has waited this long to do. BNB chain is the second biggest compared to Ethereum, I believe. You know, absolutely massive chain. PancakeSwap does tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions in volume daily. You know, they've kind of just respected each other's market share, right? Like PancakeSwap has been on BNB, Uniswap has been on ETH. Some months ago, PancakeSwap actually started trading on ETH as well, but it hasn't really seen much adoption. You know, but I do think Uniswap's V3 liquidity could be very big on BSC, you know, because that's something currently it does not have. So Uniswap Network has launched its contract on the BNB chain, the world's largest smart contract blockchain. The expansion of Uniswap to the BNB chain promises users more cost-efficient and cost-effective trading options. The announcement comes after a governance vote on February 10th, passing the proposal to deploy Uniswap's contract on this chain. A supermajority vote of 66%, representing over 55 million Uni token holders, voted in favor of the proposal. You know, and this goes back to what we were just talking about with the DAO, right? Like this is a very big decision. You know, it's allowing Uni to expand in a completely different market. So OX Plasma Labs proposed the vote as part of Uniswap's intent of expanding its reach in the DeFi space and furthering growth and adoption. Uniswap V3 contracts will be available on the BNB chain on March 15th for use by the Binance Network community and investors. Users will benefit from BNB chain's high speed and low transaction fees while trading and swapping tokens across the network. Uniswap notes that the addition to BNB chain opens up opportunities for growth as it plans to tap into newer markets in different geographic locations. Before the recent addition, a temperature check vote selected Wormhole as the bridge between BNB chain and Uniswap. Temperature check votes aim to assess whether the community could be willing to change the status quo. So yeah, I mean, I think this is huge. I wouldn't be surprised to see Uniswap take a major portion of PancakeSwap's trading volume.
And I think this is overdue. Like you mentioned, I think they really had their kingdom, and now they're slowly building these tunnels out to start building it in a new territory. And so I think this is just a natural next step. Kudos to the team. I think each of them, PancakeSwap has their own squad. Uniswap has their own squad. I still think they're both going to be pretty kind of head and head, but it's going to be interesting to see where the volume flows over the next couple of months.
Definitely. I think Uniswap too, it kind of was like you said, Evan, they were kind of respecting each other's boundaries. But I think once PancakeSwap kind of merged into that territory, Uniswap's like, okay, fair game, let's go.
Right. Yeah, I mean, as it should be. You know, all of this, you know, competition is only going to drive innovation faster and further.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think this is great stuff for Uniswap. Probably pretty good for the Uni token. It'll be interesting to see how that performs over the coming months. But we'll get on to our next story here. So Cathie Wood says that regulators responsible for banking crisis, not crypto. Leave it up to Cathie Wood to always take the positive on the innovation side stance. On March 15th, Congressman Tom Emmer sent a letter to Martin Gruenberg, the chairman of the U.S. Federal Deposit Insurance Commission, the FDIC. The letter was aimed at finding out whether the regulator instructed traditional banks under its purview to desist from servicing crypto-related business, among other measures aimed at stifling crypto innovation, as alleged by recent reports. While the House Majority Whip's efforts to foster amendable crypto regulation in the U.S. have been applauded by Web3 proponents, some have argued that Congress may not have the power to tackle the regulator's onslaught on crypto. Responding to the congressman's tweet, ARK Invest's Cathie Wood reiterated that if the FDIC and other regulators are weaponizing authority to flush out legal digital assets from the country, their efforts will ultimately prevent the U.S. from participating in the most important phase of the internet revolution. Wood went ahead to outline how the Federal Reserve's rate hikes and monetary policies over the past 12 months have triggered the ongoing crisis in the U.S. banking system. The Fed's rate hikes over the past 12 months have contributed to this banking crisis, but on one hand, you have to, right? Inflation has been crazy. Rate hikes are natural, and this is a symptom of rate hikes. And I believe that they just came out and are putting, 200 billion stimulus into the banking industry to, uplift us out of this banking collapse that's been happening.
That's gonna happen, right? Because we're on the brisk of it actually turning really bad and having more banks come out and say, hey, we're having some insolvency issues. And it's one of those things that, the rate hikes do have to happen. I think it's an unintended consequence, not so much like a given, because nobody was really expecting this, right? It's one of those things that the banks were just so over leveraged, and then people started getting wind of it, and they're like, hey, I gotta go get my money out. And then sure enough, we all find out really just what fractionalized banking is.
One thing I wanted to mention back at this article is that a lot of this technology innovation will leave the United States if these regulators don't start accepting innovation. Yes, there will be mistakes, there will be bad actors, but overall the innovation needs to continue. Without mistakes, without these problems, people and other organizations won't learn. So I completely agree with that. Even I was recently just at ETH Denver, and a lot of the conversations were about these regulations and how people are starting to move to countries and to places in the world that have better regulations for this innovation. And they're just going to see a huge outburst of really, really good talent and things that can solve majority of some of these issues that our financial institutions are having today. So couldn't agree more with what Cathie referred to in this article.
Yeah, it's interesting too, right? Because crypto is a global economy. We just had Lauren on the podcast, and she's talking about that these U.S. regulators are going after organizations that aren't even in the U.S. just because they deal with U.S. customers. And even if you restrict U.S. customers, there's always very easy ways around it. Good on Cathie Wood. I think she's always a light in the dark when it comes to innovative sectors. ARK hasn't done particularly well over the last year, but you know what? That's the way it goes when you're dealing with speculative plays, speculative technology, and such. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this week's Cryptocurrent. Hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to leave us a comment in the description of anything you'd want us to talk about next week. Check out the CoinScan community. We've got all those links in the description. And this has been the CoinScan team coming at you.